Most games have optional ways to play, but Shadowdark, it really cranks it up several notches. GameMasters here, and we've covered a lot of the basics of Shadowdark over the last few videos. If you've missed any of them, I'll link to the playlist where I've collected them all together if you'd like to watch. But right now, I want to take a look at the different modes of play that Shadowdark has to offer. Plus, I want to show you a bonus, a hidden mode of play. And then I have a challenge for you a little bit later in the video. The following modes of play are considered all optional. You can certainly mix and match them for an even more challenging game, or you can ignore all of these and just play the game as it was originally laid out. But should you want to experience Shadowdark a little differently, a bit more cutthroaty, be sure to check these modes of play out. You have Blitz mode, Chaos mode, Deadly mode, Fatality mode, Grinder mode, Hunter mode, Momentum mode, and Pulp mode, plus that hidden mode. Blitz mode states that your light timers will only last for 30 minutes. Shadowdark uses a timer mechanic where time in the game world passes at the same pace that it does for us in the real world. In other words, if you spend 1 minute at the table trying to decide how to attack the monster in front of you, 1 minute of in-game time passes as well. Which means what? Yeah, if you're going to stand there for a full minute trying to decide how to attack that monster, it's probably going to be descending upon you pretty quick. To help keep track of time, this passage of time, Shadowdark uses torches. Torches will burn for 1 hour before exhausting their fuel and snuffing themselves out. And that's real-world 1 hour time per torch. If you light a torch at, say, 8 p.m., by 9 p.m., it's out. In Blitz mode, that light timer is cranked to 30 minutes. Now, that doesn't impact your turn time. You can still lollygag at the table for a full minute trying to decide what to do, and it's still a minute that will get chewed up in-game. It's just your light timer that's being reduced by half. Chaos mode, you will re-roll initiative at the start of every combat round. Normally, you'll roll initiative, and that's making a dexterity check to see who goes first in combat, with the person with the highest result making the first move. Then combat proceeds clockwise from that person. This continues for the duration of that entire combat. With Chaos mode going, you'll roll that dex check every single round, which will in turn vary the order in which everyone can take an action, hence chaos. In Deadly mode, death timers are always 1, and you have to pass a DC 18 intelligence save to stabilize dying. Normally, death timers are calculated by rolling a 1d4 and adding your constitution modifier. The resulting number is how long you'll live unless you are stabilized. For example, let's say you roll a 1d4 and you get a 2. Your con is 13, so that would give you a modifier of +1. Together, that's a 3, which means normally you die in 3 rounds. In Deadly mode, you don't roll. You don't add your con modifier. You simply have 1 round for someone to heal you or for you to roll a d20 to stabilize, which normally to stabilize someone, in order to do that, they would need first aid and would need to roll a d20 on a DC 15 intelligence check. At that point, you'd be stabilized. But in Deadly mode, that 15, that's now an 18. Good luck. If Deadly mode wasn't bad enough, Fatality mode basically kicks it in the teeth. Should you hit 0 hit points, your character just out and out dies. There's no passing go. There is no chance to get stabilized. There's nothing that can be done. 0 hit points equals it's time to roll up a new character. Grinder mode is just as brutal, as it's just a funnel to slow churn inside a meat grinder. Normally, when you rest, you regain all lost hit points, and you recover any stat damage, which might be something like a constitution loss due to drinking some foul water. Plus, your items, some talents, even spells, are replenished after you catch some well-needed Zs. In Grinder mode, you only regain 1 stat damage per stat, and your hit points only restore 1 roll of your hit point die. Though if you're a dwarf, you can actually roll with advantage there. If you're a spellcaster, again, normally you'd regain what you cast, all of it. But in this mode, roll 1d4, and whatever the result was, that's all you can regain. sucks if you roll a 1. In Hunter mode, when you defeat a monster, you get half the granted experience based on their level, rounded down. Normally, to gain experience in Shadowdark, you are awarded it via finding treasure and what they call boons. And these things can be traded in for experience. For example, a magic scroll might be worth 1 experience. Monsters don't normally grant XP, but in Hunter mode, they do. Let's say that you are hunting down one of my favorites, zombies. They are a level 2 monster. So as per Hunter mode, you would be awarded half of that, which would be 1 experience point. Okay, so let's say it was a Sphinx that you just put into the can. They're level 9. Half of that is 4.5. Rounded down, that's 4. Now, while that doesn't really sound like a lot of experience, 1 case of a zombie or 4 in case of a Sphinx, keep in mind that in Shadowdark, their level up benchmarks are vastly lower than your traditional Dungeons & Dragons game. For example, you only need to gain 20 experience to hit level 2, 30 for level 3, and so forth. In Momentum mode, you have advantage on checks to repeat the same action that you just previously failed, and your damage dice explode. Should you roll a maximum damage on your damage dice? Okay, it breaks down like this. Each weapon you have, each combat spell you have, they have dice associated with the amount of damage that they can do. For example, a dagger can cause 1d4 damage. If you roll a d4 and get a 4, you roll again. If you get another 4, you roll again. There's no cap, but the moment that you roll less than your damage dice max, you stop rolling and just add everything together, and that's how much damage you just dished out. Pulp mode is for having an epic cinematic adventure where you have all the possible luck that you can get. But even then, that might not be enough. We went over how luck tokens work in a previous video, and I'll link it up above me here, but at its core, a GM can give a player a luck token that can in turn be used to re-roll any roll that they just made. But in doing so, they have to accept the new roll, even if it's lower. And players are normally limited to only 1 luck token. In Pulp mode, there is no maximum luck token that a player can have. You'll start every session with 1d4 luck tokens. You can use a luck token to turn a hit into a critical hit, and you can use a luck token to take an extra action, and you can use a luck token to even force the Game Master to re-roll one of their rolls. Now, earlier in the video, I mentioned that there was a hidden mode of play. All of the modes that we just went over are all listed on a single page, but hidden in another part of the book where it talks about turn order is another mode called freeform mode. In this mode of play, in freeform mode, players don't have to roll for initiative. Instead, they can collectively decide who goes first, who goes second, and so on. They can declare actions as a group and act simultaneously, or they can choose to go in a random order, even zigzag order if they wish, if they're sitting across the table from each other. This mode of play can actually lead to some pretty crafty encounters, which is really at the heart of being able to survive in Shadowdark. As previously said, we've explored many of the basics of this game. I feel that I've really kind of reached the end of what all I really wanted to cover, at least in terms of the basics, but now that we have the fundamentals covered and we know how to play the game of Shadowdark, well, now we can start exploring some of the more complex mechanics and optional supplements. But those are for different videos, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss those. But do hang out a second because I've got a challenge for you. First, I want to thank everyone for sticking with these Shadowdark basics. I really appreciate you watching, and I especially need to thank my Patreon supporters and YouTube members as their contributions to the channel have been above and beyond. And wow, their names are really flying by so fast. If you'd like to support the channel, I'll leave a link down in the description and down below my little talking box here. Okay, now for the challenge. Now that we have the basics of Shadowdark under our belt, here's the challenge I have for you. You are out of torches. You are at 1 hit point. You hear something breathing just ahead in the dark. You have 1 luck token left. What do you do? Let me know down in the comments, and until next our paths cross, may you find some light to pierce the darkness of Shadowdark.